All right, have and have not fans. As of right now, this will be my final video in regards to episode 100, and really it's kind of a branch off of a couple other videos I did in regards to Veronica as a character to her past. Now, what really grabbed my attention was in the episode when she was actually talking to Melissa about, little girl, you only wanted attention because if you really wanted it in your life, you would have just dug the blade deeper and I think it was like turn left or something like that. Basically, she was giving vivid detail, not only about how to properly commit suicide with a blade, but also detailing very morbid facts about what she would do to Melissa if she would ever attempt something like that again and endanger her grandchild, going from, putting her in a comatose state or, make her catatonic or something like that. So she'll know what's going on around her, but she wouldn't be able to move. Literally throwing her off a roof, and the list goes on and on. It's just, ugh. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't, it wasn't that, like, oh my God, I want to throw up, but I'm just glad I wasn't eating during that scene because I was speechless when she was just in that, in that tone of voice. And then the fact that Melissa was like, that's a nice dress. And that really goes to show that she was wearing a black dress, almost signifying that this was almost a funeral of sorts in regards to, yeah, if you would have died, this would have been like what I would wear. She didn't really say that, but that's what I kind of got from the feeling of the scene. So again, it really speaks volumes to Tyler Perry and the cast members, because if you ever know, and again, this is where you really got to pay attention to detail, the characters are usually wearing clothing, color schemes and whatnot that go along with how they're feeling. I feel like that's irrelevant. I mean, that's personally how I feel. I might be looking a bit too deep into this, but again, I just feel like it goes along with the characters as a whole. And man, if I'm not mistaken, have we not seen Veronica's hair look like that since the interview that Jim Cryer had with was it Churchill or Winchester or whatever, the news reporter that exposed him with having children by Celine on national television? I think that's the last time we saw her hair like that. I don't know, but in any case, the fact that she was so descriptive about, or knowledgeable in terms of how to commit suicide like that, and honestly, here's what I think. Maybe Veronica was Melissa back in the past, because remember that in her college days, she was kind of, I wouldn't say seduced by a senior, but there was a senior that, told her that he loved her and stuff like that. Ended up, she got pregnant. And then for one reason or another, most likely the pregnancy, he decided not to talk to her anymore. And that's when she eventually had an abortion. And she's been regretting that. She felt like that's been haunting her entire life. And even after meeting up with David, they tried to have children multiple times, but it never worked. And she thought it was punishment for that abortion. And then they eventually had Jeffrey. So that, and then it also leads into, what did David say? I think that Veronica hurt her back or something like that. Then she got addicted to pain medication. Then she had to go into rehab, and she was an alcoholic, and she's been through a lot. So maybe at some point she's been a Melissa. She's been an Amanda Cryer in terms of being suicidal, wanting to end her life for one reason or another. And if you remember that, the only reason that Amanda was in her suicidal state, aside from not taking the meds, was because of the alleged pregnancy by Professor Cannon, just like Melissa was pregnant by Jeffrey. So possibly because Veronica was in that pregnant state, and then, the love of her life, so to speak, left her, she may have been in a similar situation to Melissa. So to me, I feel like that's one of the main reasons that she has such a negative tone towards Melissa, just like how Hannah has the same kind of feeling towards Candace, because she represents who she was. That's how I personally feel. And if you kind of look, I guess parents are like that. If they see the worst elements of themselves in their children, that causes a lot of tension between themselves and their child. So that could lead to how they want to control their child no matter what. Like, Hannah wants Candace to change, and then you have Veronica wanting Jeffrey to be the man she wants him to be, as opposed to a homosexual. And that really speaks volumes to Veronica's character, because again, it could be that some similar situations have happened in her past that even David didn't know about, because remember, she was pregnant by this guy before she even met David. So that goes to show that maybe there's more to Veronica that David doesn't even know about. So that's my personal take on the situation here. I just want to get your own feedback. Do you think at one point or another, Veronica was in a same low stint that Melissa is now, and that's why she was so knowledgeable about, how to commit suicide and, different forms of torture? I mean, it would make sense if she did know, based off the fact she runs a rehab clinic, and she was in one as well. So If I'm not mistaken, she said while she was in rehab, she noticed things that were right, things that were wrong. Hence why she started her own rehab facility and decided to correct the mistakes she saw in the one she was in. So it does make sense if she's seen her patients put themselves in suicidal like situations, and that's how she knows exactly what they would need to do to kill themselves. So with that being said, not a super long video, but I wanted to get your insight on this little detail that might give us more information about who Veronica Harrington was in the past.